Hello again, everybody. Jim Hickey coming back to you from websitepresence.org with the next video in the Keyword Research Demystified video in ebook series. This video is specifically going to be addressing some things with some preliminary keyword evaluation techniques. Okay, so moving right along, what we're going to cover specifically in this video, we're going to look at first determining things about the search volume using the Google Keyword Tool. Okay, and in doing so, we're going to look at the settings we want for that tool, and then we're going to look at something that's referred to as keyword match types, because you have to understand a little bit about that and exactly which match type we want to focus in on in doing this level of research. One thing I want to point out is I'm going to try to go quickly through this video because it's kind of the background information, and then I'm going to do a second video that'll actually work through the process of me using these tools directly, and I'll give you a little bit more of the insight about some tips and tricks and techniques to get through and use these tools more effectively. Okay, after we get through using the Google Keyword Tool in order to get an idea of the search volume and whether it meets certain criteria or not, then we're going to go in and do an initial competition analysis, which is basically going to be looking at the number of competing pages for a given keyword tool using a certain way of doing that within the search engines. And again, I'm going to focus on Google because it's the main search engine out there. And then secondly, we're going to look at how many times that page exists that keyword exists in the title of pages that are out there on the internet. Again, using another technique and another operator to do that. Now, one thing I want to mention, although I'm going to be talking a lot about the search engines here, and I know I've said in the past it's not all about Google, which it isn't. It's about Bing and Yahoo too. No, kiddingly. The search engines can be a great source of traffic, but there's other places that can as well. The article directories, hub pages, Squidoo. I'm using this as kind of a proxy to determine what the competition might be like in those venues as well. Okay, so it kind of serves as a first blush look of what you're going to be up against when you put something on Easy Articles or Squidoo or Hub Pages, and not just showing up in the search engines, but actually getting it searched for within those search functions by people who are using those tools directly. So keep that in mind. Okay. All right, the Google Keyword Tool. We're going to need to get this thing set up initially, but before we even go there, I guess you got to know where to get it. So here's the URL. Okay, so write that down quickly. No, don't write it down quickly at all. First of all, you have the video, so you'll be able to do it whenever you want, or at least you can access the video. Plus, it's in the ebook, and I think it's a live link in the ebook if I recall. But even if you don't have the ebook available, even if you don't have the video available, all you have to do is go to the Google search engine, enter in Google Keyword Tool in the box, hit search, and it will be the first result. So there's the first tip and trick. All right. So what we're going to do as we go in and do this initial setup, well, you're going to have to give your spit it out. First keyword phrase. So you want your target keyword. What is your target keyword? You're going to enter that in Google. In this keyword tool, and it's going to go out and find data for it and a whole bunch of other associated keywords that might be of use to you, either in your article or in future articles in supporting your marketing efforts. Okay. Next, you're going to want to check something that's referred to as locational language, and I'll point out where that is this time and talk more about it when I actually do the search. We're going to want to set some changes to the way Google delivers the data and the columns that it delivers. We're going to make sure that the keywords are lit, which is a default column, that it gives us our global and local monthly search data. No, this is stalling. Why is it stalling? Here we go. There we go. For some reason I want to hang up there for a minute. And then we're going to make some changes, take some data out, and bring in what what they call the estimated average CPC, cost per click. That is an initial sense of the commerciality of this thing. Okay. If you're opening the keyword tool for the first time in a given session and it's been a few hours, you're going to have to enter a CAPTCHA. It's one of those codes to make sure we're all viable and not robots. And then you hit search and you go off. The tool goes off and does its things and returns you some data. But here's what the tool first looks like when you open it. Here's the area where you enter your seed keyword. Here's where you get the results and all the data. Here's some of the columns you're going to want to change. Take out competition and this local trends analysis. You do that via this columns button. Here's the CAPTCHA I was talking about. Here's those other two things I was talking about. And we'll look at that in more detail when I do the actual search. Okay. All right, search match types. I told you we're going to have to briefly go through that. And there's three that we need to be concerned with. The broad match is the default that it returns. It'll be the biggest number, but basically it's saying that when the person enters a phrase, those words can be anywhere in the search phrase that they enter into the search engine. Okay, so if you were searching for Fender guitar, but somebody entered blue Stratocaster Fender guitar for my friend, those words may or may not be together, may be separated, and oftentimes it leads to irrelevant results. If you're really interested in finding information specifically on Fender guitars or Fender Stratocaster guitars or whatever the case may be, you're really going to want to key in on that type as opposed to having those words all over the place. And many types it may not even relate to what you're doing, so many of those things are irrelevant. Now, phrase match gets you a lot closer. That means that those keywords are in order, but they will be in a longer tail keyword phrase. Like if you were searching Fender guitar, it could be blue Fender guitar Stratocaster type is the term that they actually typed in. Far more focused than the first one was usually. The numbers are lower usually, but sometimes not quite as targeted as you want to be. So the best way to do it is use exact match, or at least find out who's typing that term in directly. Fender guitar in this case, and not in all its other forms. It'll be the most relevant, the most targeted. It'll also have the lowest number of searches, but the good thing is that, if that meets your criteria, that means you potentially could get more search volume if other people are doing relevant searches using other terms. So, it's all good in the end, possibly. Okay. Here's where I've actually gone and done that. I've used the keyword tool, entered this term, Chris Farrell, some internet marketing dude. And here's the results. And you'll see, first of all, if you look down here quickly, we have a whole list of keywords here. You'll notice things are repeated, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. We have the columns the way I like it, which is the search volumes and the CPC, so we can see if there's any sense of commerciality here, if it was a product-related site particularly. But you'll also notice that things are replicated here. One's just the way that it appears, Chris Farrell, the other one is in square brackets. And those relate to two of the three different match types. And you'll notice over here that once you do the search, it returns the match type boxes. Normally, when it first opens, it's just the broad match that's checked. I have checked the exact match. That's the ones in square brackets. You should notice that those numbers are lower, right? Okay, cool. One other thing I want to point out, because the next level of analysis we do, we have to go out to the search engine to do it. You can get at that real quickly by just clicking on any one of these these names, because they're actually live links out to the net, and it'll bring up the search engine for you with that term already entered, at least in a broad match search. Okay, now when you do this, you're going to want to scan through these keywords and see which of these keywords meet your initial goal, which is greater than 1,000 exact match searches per month. Exact match searches equals EMS. All right. So obviously, if you recall, because it's now blocked, but Chris Farrell exact match still met that criteria, so that's cool. But you're going to want to go through the rest of these and see if there are any more that meet that criteria, because there's, that could be other content, other keywords you use in your initial content, whatever the case may be. We want to get as much help as we can getting this thing noticed wherever it's being searched. So that's an important characteristic. Okay. Go on. So moving right along, and my computer's being real slow. Now we're going to move into the competition analysis. And recall that, if I just click on those terms in that other tool, it will bring up the search engine with that first tool actually entered, and so you'll get something that will be very useful very quickly. But we're going to want to check ultimately the number of competing pages that use our exact phrase in Google search, or in this case, because that's what we're using. And then in the second case, we want to know how many times that phrase is used within the title, and we're going to use the all in title operator to do that. Now, if you did what I told you to do and just clicked on those names from the search results from the Google Keyword Tool, it would just open up this window. And in this case, it's Natural Headache Remedies, is the one I had done earlier. So, and that's exactly what I did. I just clicked on that term in the keyword tool. It opened up a Google search window for me with the broad match search already done. Now, why did I say broad match search? Because Google will now return you when you just enter that term in directly, all of the pages that they find that are authoritative enough to list on the first page of Google and the ensuing pages that follow that have those words anywhere on the page. So there's potentially a degree of irrelevancy here. Okay. In a later video, not even the next one, because the next one I'm going to literally just walk through the process. But in a later one to show you some of the problems you can run into, I'll show you, exactly when you enter certain terms how it can become irrelevant. Okay, but nonetheless, in this case, both of those first two listings appear to be quite relevant to that term. But what we really want to know is where those terms are used as one keyword phrase. Okay, and in order to do that, all we have to do is make a simple little change. And once that window opens up, just put quote marks around that term, hit search again, and you should notice that, well, you may have noticed that the first results were over 400,000. This time it's down to 70,000, or just over 70,000. So that's the number of times that phrase, natural headache remedies, appears, or the number of pages that phrase exists on with all those words connected as a keyword phrase. Okay? And that's really what we're interested in. So, just like with the searches, is there a goal? Yeah, we want there to be less than 30,000 competing pages, ideally. Now, this is twice that, but in the grand scope of things, considering there could be hundreds of thousands or millions of pages that have this terms, the fact that this is only twice that number still wouldn't cause me just to throw it out. I might be throwing the baby out with a wash water right now if I did. But so I'm going to keep it. It's a flag. Okay, it may be going by the wayside real quickly, depending on what other things show. But it didn't meet this first criteria. And again, remember, these are just guides to get you along the process, and I'll explain more about the details of what that all means later. Okay, so now we know how many times that phrase exists in those pages, and it's over the number we want. But so what's the next time? How many times is that phrase used in the title? Well, here's how you get at that. I mean, we still have the term in quotes, and all we have to do is add all in title : before it. That's an operator that then tells Google to tell me, okay, how many times is this just used in the title? Okay, like you see here, this is, it's in the title of this page. It's in the title of this page, right? So those are important considerations. And you'll notice that this time the number is substantially lower. It's down to just under 6,000. Again, what's the goal? Well, here the goal is we want it to be less than 10,000. This meets that goal. So right now, the fact that it's over the last one but under this one still means that it's still got a little bit of a flag associated with it, but I'm probably going to want to evaluate this in more detail to find out exactly how competitive this is, or at least get a better sense of the competitive nature. Okay, so I'm not ready to throw it out with the bathwater, so to speak, yet. All right. So that's how we do the basic first levels of analysis. Okay. Okay. So what do we want to do? Well, what's the goals here? We want to use the Google keyword tool to assess the search volume. We want our search volumes to be over 1,000 exact match searches per month. We want to do an assessment of the number of competing pages that use that exact phrase using the quotes operator. And we want that to be ideally less than 30,000, but I give that a little more fluff room, and we'll really still be thinking about things up to 100,000. And two, we want the next level of research, how many times that phrase is used in the title of pages, to be less than 10,000. And that I take a lot more seriously, because that's when the competition is real. That's a much better indication, really, of competition than the first one. But there's even better ways to do the competition analysis. Get even more data to see how competitive things really are, especially in those first 10 spots of the search engines, because that's where most of the searches come from. Okay, and it's also a good indication of what it's going to take, how competitive those phrases are likely to be, again, within the search functions of those other places as well. Again, I'm using this as a proxy. Always keep that in mind. So we're going to do this next round of analysis with a tool called Traffic Travis, and there we will look at specifically some of the more detailed factors, parameters that are associated with those pages. Page rank, age, links, whether there's any directory links associated with them, on-page SEO factors. Again, for a given keyword phrase in the top 10 pages that are listed, especially the top 5 pages, because that's where the bulk of the traffic comes from the organic search. But again, that's a proxy for other places as well, in my mind. At least that's the way I use it. Okay. And that will be not within the immediately next video, because that's going to be me doing what I just went through in this video. But that will be the next video in the series that talks about the next level of analysis, and that'll follow in a few days. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Be talking to you again soon when I actually walk through the process I just described. Have a great day.